Pilanesberg at the end of July is not the warmest region in South Africa, and a bitterly cold morning greeted teams, race officials and off-road enthusiasts on race day. If Donaldson Prologue results and the number of surprises dished up were anything to go by, an interesting day lay ahead. With just 1 second separating two Toyota entries at the front of the field, there was going to be action from the start.
Yeah, look, we started second behind Gary and other Toyota, so yeah, it's going to be fun. We had a good run yesterday, and hoping we can have a good day today.
Despite the early morning chill in the air, there was a large turnout of enthusiasts as the cars lined up for what would be a ceremonial start at race headquarters. From that start, cars would travel a short distance from the Sun City complex to where the race would officially get underway. Off-road racing is a family-orientated sport and does not stand much on ceremony, with Race HQ, the pits and designated service point all open to the general public. Enthusiasts are encouraged to mingle and chat with teams and crews, and the atmosphere before races is always relaxed and very friendly.
Race director Adri Roots flagged the field away at the ceremonial start, with cars leaving as per the times they set up during the Donaldson Prologue. Gone are the days when cars started at 2-minute intervals known as dust gaps. Races are these days run to real time, which makes it all the more important to set up a good time in the prologue. The switch to starting according to prologue times also provides for plenty of action throughout the field right from the start of a race.
The race was to be run over 2 loops of 180 kilometers each, with a compulsory 15-minute stop at the designated service point or DSP after the first loop. The first 60 kilometers of each circle followed the prologue route before skirting a range of koppies in the Mahobbies Kraal area.
There was an equally good turnout of spectators at the start proper of the race, and when the flag dropped, Duncan Force and Rob Howie lost no time in surging ahead of the Atlas Copco Toyota Hilux of prologue winners Gary Berthold and Andre Vermeulen. The factory car's V8 motor had a little more grunt than the 6-cylinder Atlas Copco Toyota, and there was nothing Berthold and Vermeulen could do as the Team Castrol Toyota Hilux disappeared down the road at a rapid rate of knots. With an open track ahead of them and no dust to slow them down, Force and Howie were sitting in the pound seats.
There were early indications that dust would be a major problem for crews, but there was no inkling that the race would be a short-lived affair for Gary Berthold and Andre Vermeulen. Willem and Dana Vos started only 36 seconds behind the two cars ahead of them, but quickly went past the Atlas Copco Toyota, which was standing on the side of the road. The Forces Toyota Hilux was hot on the heels of the leaders and was already showing some early battle scars.
The early demise of the Atlas Copco Toyota lifted the Michelin XL Hilux of Hicho and Jaap de Bruin into third place, with the father and son pair running 26 seconds behind the leaders. The de Bruins were being chased by Ramon and Moret Besaidenout, who had the Rubicon Toyota Hilux of Pikkie Labuschagne and Rikus Erasmus breathing down their necks. The first of the non-Toyota entries was the diesel-powered Ford Ranger of reigning champions Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst, with the pair around 40 seconds adrift of the leaders. The Atlas Copco Bat of Richard Fuller and Jeff Minnett was still at the front of the special vehicle field, with the pair losing a few seconds with a minor overshoot. No harm done, and they were soon underway again.
Multiple champion Hannes Grobler and Henny Terstegen had made a steady, if unspectacular, start to the race in the diesel-powered RFS BMW. This was in sharp contrast to Gary Berthold and Andre Vermeulen, who were still trying to work out what had gone wrong.
We don't know. It sounds like almost like a throttle position sensor that's gone faulty. But we're also thinking there might be water in the fuel because we pulled in from the garage this morning. We're not sure. We don't know. It just doesn't go at all. If you put throttle down, the car just dies. We don't know.
The Sizanani Plastics porter of Brett Parker and Wiesent van Zyl was running second in the special vehicle category and at the front of the Class A field. For the second race in a row, Van Zyl was deputizing for Steve Parker, and trying to close down the porter were David and Gary White in the Rubicon Bat. Visibility was now a problem up and down the field, with Terence Marsh and George Smallberger battling along in the White's dust in the Regent Racing Nissan Navara.
The Atlas Copco bat of Johan van Staden and James Rousseau picked up a place on the road when they went past Class D leaders Dion Venter and Ian Palmer in the 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux. There were some enthusiastic spectators along the route waving on the likes of Louis Weichelt and Francis Bushma, who were only 18 seconds behind Venter and Palmer. A good battle was developing between the Weichelt-Bushma Toyota Land Cruiser and Lance Woolridge and Ward Huxtable in the second Team Ford Ranger. Also going along steadily were Thomas Rundle and Joan Moore, with the Baden Tyre Services Nissan Navara pair intent on a solid finish and important championship points. Hot on their heels were Herman and Wichard Sulwald in the Sulwald Racing SVR and the McLaughlin brothers in the aging but still competitive Connex. The McLaughlins were at the head of a little train of cars that included the Harpers and the Motorrad Bat and the PHB Bat of Marius and Yolinda Fourie, who were 4 minutes behind the race leaders.
Towards the back of the field, Deirdre Hutting and Christo Bosman had taken early control of Class E in the Transcore Toyota Hilux, with the father and daughter combination of Kutsia and Sandro Labuskaghni running at the front of Class B in the race on Exarco.
The completely new route for this year's Sun City 400 was turning into a tough test for teams and machinery. North of Sun City, the first loop cut away back towards Mohobi's Kraal after swinging around and heading for Magope and Vedranki.
At the